resilient health system, and eminence in clinical practice. Thank you.
Light Vedika, which symbolizes service and sacrament. It was beautiful to watch it. As a patient, I can say I am a doctor, dentist by profession. I have also been a patient. किसी भी पेशेंट का ट्रीटमेंट और रिकवरी सिर्फ आपके हाथों में होता है. I have been a patient 4 times when I have been operated and I have been in the under nursing care, and I have 4 different experiences which I can share today. But I can assure you that all 4, I can never ever thank and express my gratitude for the nursing care which I have got. बहुत अच्छा कि हमारी कि मैं आर्मी में जाऊँ, but for different circumstances and also क्योंकि मेरे father was like कि अगर सब बच्चे अलग-अलग चले गए तो मेरे जो इतना सब कुछ हुआ है तो हमारा साथ कौन देगा, मेरे हाथ कौन बनेंगे. So we didn't go and for doing a wonderful job. Once again, I welcome you today to this beautiful campus of ours. We've made it with a lot of love and take a look around and enjoy your stay here, have a knowledgeable experience. जय हिंद.
तो एडवांसमेंट हो रहा है उसके संबंध में ज्ञान का आदान प्रदान करेंगे और मुझे पूरी आशा है कि उससे आप सब लोग लाभान्वित होंगे. विशेष रूप से छात्रों के लिए 2 शब्द ये कहना चाहेंगे कि आज जो आपने शपथ ली है वो एक जीवन की शपथ है, एक मात्र संयोग या एक दिन की घटना नहीं है. ये जो शपथ है आपको जीवन पर इसका निर्वहन करना होगा. आपने जिस प्रोफेशन को चुना है वास्तव में वो इतना प्रेम और बलिदान और त्याग का ही है. उसमें कोई भी अपना कंसिडरेशन नहीं होता कि मेरा स्वार्थ है या मेरा ये मुझको ये करना है या मेरे परिवार के लिए या मेरे लिए. वो सब सुविधाएं का त्याग करके आपने ये प्रोफेशन चुना है और अत्यंत सहानुभूति, संवेदना और सहृदयता हर समय आपको चाहिए. जिस समय आप रोगी से किसी भी तरह से किसी भी प्रकार से किसी भी रूप में इंटरेक्ट करते हैं तो आपके शब्द हमेशा प्रेम और सहानुभूति के होने चाहिए. यही जीवन में सफलता. प्रत्येक हम यदि अपने आप को रोगी के रूप में देखें तो क्या हम नर्स, किसी भी स्टाफ नर्स से या किसी भी व्यक्ति जो हमें हेल्थ केयर डिलीवरी दे रहा है उससे क्या अपेक्षा करते हैं, ये सोचेंगे तो पता लगेगा कि सिर्फ त्याग और बलिदान और प्रेम सहानुभूति रोगी को चाहिए.
Small steps, but its impact can be experienced in giant leaps. Today, our budding nightingales of College of Nursing, SNSU, are making a new beginning through lighting of candles. The light that shines talks about 3 things. 1, it is a reminder of the darkness inside. 2, it speaks about hope. Thirdly and finally, the light that shines is about burning out for others. I congratulate newcomers for choosing this noble and selfless profession. My dear students, today you are stepping into a new role. There is no doubt about it that it is a selfless profession. We are called to put others first. As a nurse, we have the opportunity to heal the mind, soul and body of our patients, their families and ourselves. They may forget your name, but they will not forget how you made them feel. We expect you to work with dedication, loyalty, honesty and upskill yourself with latest technology, living up to a clientele satisfaction which is evidence-based.
I want to be there in the very serving profession and in the very caring profession, and I get about the nursing. And in the middle
related courses because these flip charts and they are basic tools for teaching or extension education.
For your wonderful presentation. My query is that how following clinical pathways in India can help in the upliftment of the image and work of clinical nurses especially.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get your question.
So if I'm saying that if we follow these clinical pathways in India, since this is a concept from abroad, this is not much followed in India. So how, if we follow it in government sector, rural hospitals, so how it is going to uplift the image and work of the clinical nurses, people working in clinical areas? I mean, how it is going to help them?
Practitioner course is now started in India. So automatically what we were using as a care plan, nursing care plan, it has come to now clinical pathways. So it will be standardized coming for the all level now. Like in colleges or in the corporate hospitals where the nurse practitioners are working, they are only using clinical pathways. They are not coming up for nursing care plan. Even the students whom we are teaching now, they have started. So automatically, in a few years, it will be a practice. So it won't be any issue since nurse practitioner has come to India. Thank you so much.
Respected faculties of nursing from various colleges and Subharti, I have the honor of introducing a great luminary of community medicine, not only from UP but all over India. आप लोग जब सुनेंगे इनके बारे में तो आपको यकीन हो जाएगा कि how lucky you all are to hear Professor Harvansh Chopra. Professor Harvansh Chopra, LLRM Medical College, the college of one of the very famous colleges of UP, LLRM Medical College, Meerut. He is a graduate of 1975 batch. I am 1978, so he is 3 years senior to me, and that's why I know a lot about him, which I will be telling you very briefly. 85 में इन्होंने MD किया वहीं से, और उस बीच में इन्होंने DCH भी किया, Diploma in Child. So he has the distinction of being an excellent pediatrician as well as an excellent community physician. 2-in-1 इनका आप देखिए पहले qualification wise. He has been teaching undergraduates and postgraduates, stage performer है, बहुत बढ़िया नुक्कड़ नाटक इन्होंने बनाए हैं. दहेज पर इनका नुक्कड़ नाटक ओम स्वाहा पूरे इंडिया में फेमस है, और मैं ये इच्छा करता हूँ, बाकी तो प्रभु की इच्छा है कि वो नाटक यहाँ पर भारती में से स्टेज पर होना चाहिए, जो इनका फेमस नाटक है. और मेरे जैसे छोटे मोटे कलाकार को, मैं म्यूजिशियन रहा हूँ, इन्होंने ही मेरे को उसमें आगे बढ़ाया एज वन ऑफ हिज म्यूजिक डायरेक्टर्स. तो मैं इनके बारे में बोलता रहूँ तो सारे
right. So with these few introductory remarks, I would like to come to my topic. Of course, we are living in a jet age, and this age has got certain advantages and disadvantages. Yesterday I was in Chennai in a national conference. I came back in the middle of the night, and I am now standing in front of you to present my views on this important topic. Why I am saying important? Because this has become of great importance in the light of the pandemic which is going on across the globe, and all of you might be aware of that pandemic coronavirus pandemic, and WHO today only has declared it as a global health emergency. This is the fifth pandemic which has been declared by WHO to be global health. It is the mental health, it is the spiritual health, which are the various dimensions which we always talk about. And then when we talk of health, then we talk of health systems. And across the globe, there are different health systems. And I hope that the majority of the people who are sitting here, they belong to this country. So I will be first talking about the kind of health system which is existing in our country for any crisis, for any disasters, for any epidemic, pandemic, and other things. So when we talk of healthcare delivery system in our country, we have taken a copy from the USSR model. I'm not talking about Russia. I'm talking about USSR, which was one unified country. We have taken a copy of that system where the main focus was on preventive medicine. The main focus was on preventive medicine. And the same day they were teaching, after second year in MBBS, they were asking people either to go into medical specialty or into surgical specialty or into preventive medicine specialty. That was their focus. So we had the system of providing healthcare, especially to people living in rural masses, again is a copy of that USSR model. When we talk of providing education, then medical education in our country is a copy of British system. British system. Understand it. So on one hand, we have incorporated a model from USSR. On other hand, we have incorporated another model from UK. When we'll be talking about the resilient health system, the system could be there in numbers, but whether that system is able to deliver, that is the point. And there will be always a difference of opinion. Like if I say, what I got in my hand? Yes, I have a bottle. What? And can anybody describe this bottle? Yes. Somebody will say, this bottle is half empty. Somebody will say, this bottle is half full. And some innovative person will say, there is something more in the bottle. These are the three things. So when we will be talking about the resilient health system, if we are the health provider, we will always claim, yes, ours will get the health services. What are the various players which are available or which are present in the provision of healthcare delivery in India? In my mind, and if it happens, then probably I will be waiting again here and there for the topic. So he can go to either a sub-center or primary health center, or he can further go to a community health center. He can go to a district hospital. Then he can go to medical college. Then private clinics or hospitals. If they don't come together, then the situation will be absolutely disastrous. And when we are talking of a resilient health system, of course, it's a new concept which probably has arisen because of the Ebola emergency in the world, where the system was not able to take care of the people. And right now we do not know. We might discuss by the end of this presentation what is happening in Wuhan. There is an absolute lockdown. Lockdown not from the point of view of movement of the people, but lockdown from the point of view of travel of news. We do not know what exactly is happening. From that we will come to that aspect will come later. But this is the system. And when we understand this is to you, how many people are there? In fact, we don't have any idea, right? So you will have to understand that health management information system, now the government has developed this, it's an online portal that provides information on health indicators in India. And it compiles data from state, from district level health authorities. It conducts national family health surveys, or it conducts district health household surveys, and it conducts district surveillance unit. From there it goes to state surveillance unit, and from there it goes to central surveillance unit. This is collected on a weekly basis. This is, again, few diseases are included. Of course, the government has now coming up with the newer ideas of making the diseases notifiable. And which disease has been made notifiable recently in our country? Services to the people. So this is the system. Now let us coming down to the word. What is the meaning of the word? This is resilience. Resilience word, what is the meaning? And this is a GIF image which is telling you, right? It's a pulling effect. Millions of people are living there. And they are scared. They do not know what kind of disease is there. They are locked down, there are no supplies, there are no services, they are not allowed to travel outside. The reason once it enters, because still it is a mystery. We always talk of evidence, but the evidence is enough education to the people so that there is no fear. So people come out and take treatment, and thereby you can limit the number of illnesses. In Nepal, probably 19 people affected and 17 deaths were there. In Kerala, the system was resilient enough. They could identify that some abnormal virus is there. They could make a early viral diagnosis, and thereby they could certain epidemiological step by which the epidemic was contained, and it remained only in Kerala, and it remained only in few people as well as few service providers. You are a great bunch of service providers. Remember, you are part of the health team. And whatsoever is going to happen, you must understand, you are at the maximum risk to acquire new kind of infections. Because when you are not aware how infections occur, how it is transmitted, how it spreads, then you become complacent. And that is why we say it is important from a preventive medicine point of view that you have to apply universal precautions irrespective of the nature of illness you are treating. And if you are not using universal, we are not talking of integration of only one sector. We are talking of integration with various other sectors. Various other ministries are to be involved. It is not only the health ministry which is to be involved in it. And if you are taking the example of this coronavirus now, only then you can take the next necessary steps. If somebody is not suffering, found to be negative, why do you want to isolate him? You are dealing with human lives. And every life is precious and important. So system has to adopt, so it has to go beyond the health sector. It has to, the political leadership of the particular country has to be sensitized, and system itself has to make hue and cry so that there is a lot of sensitization. So I will not go into the Nipah examples that I have already taken up. Yes, this is an important slide which I discussed in the beginning also. So public health has got a very, very big role to play as far as the resiliency of the health system is concerned. And depending upon the data which is available and depending upon the models which are available, there are three functions of the public health functionaries nowadays. They not only have to prevent, they not only have to promote, but they have to predict that what is going to happen in future. So we have time, still we have time, Chairperson, we have time. So I can give the example, what happened. what happened, what exactly happened in 1980. It was in 1980, there was a Barat which was coming from Lucknow and it was going to Delhi. And this Barat had a lot of patakas on the roof of the bus in which it was traveling, and it caught fire near Hapur. And I am talking of 1980, probably majority of you were not born. There were 56 people in that bus, and all got burned, and all of them got more than 50% burned. In 1980, the private sector was almost invisible in Meerut. LLR Medical College was the only place where all these 56 people could be sent. So, resiliency of health system when we talk about, there was no burn ward. And 56 people, and there were no mobile phones, no WhatsApp, no internet. The information came from the authorities from Hapur to Meerut, DM, and DM informed medical college that these 56 people are coming and we have to manage. So we prepared a separate ward on the ground floor. In the ground floor, there was a gynae ward, there was an orthopedics ward. All these ward patients were shifted to upper floors. The total, these two wards were shifted, converted into burn wards, you can say. There were no facilities, special facilities. But one factor which the model of resilience health system we have talked about, one factor is very, very important and missing in that system. You need to have a committed health force. You need to have a committed health team. Not only committed health team, but motivated health team. And luckily we have at that particular point of time few motivated resident doctors. And Dr. Atul was one of them. I was doing internship at that particular point of time. Now, I was doing internship at that particular point of time, and I still remember, and I'll remember till I'm alive, because I worked in the hospital for 72 hours continuously. And any one of you who are taking care of the burn patient will be aware that if there is a more than 50% burn, the chances of survival are very, very less. So there was so much of commitment amongst all of us. And it's not only me who worked for 72 hours, a lot of other interns, junior doctors, they also work for 48 hours. And it's not only that we were working only on the burn patients. We kept on providing care to other patients who were admitted in the hospital for other services. And what was the result? We could save 30 people with more than 50% burn. The result which no burn ward can match. And that gave a fillip. This news traveled to Lucknow also. And and it's not only, it's one thing is providing care. Another thing is that we have to integrate so many things. So we integrated a lot of blood camps, donation camps were organized. A lot of people came because blood transfusion is one of the important components of saving the lives of all these patients. So we could do that. The news even went to Lucknow. And later on, when we organized a charity show for Subharati to strengthen the Subharati, so I went to Lucknow for for getting a permission to entertainment tax to be, what we say, relieved by the government. So we got that permission in one day time from Lucknow, which was a miracle, and Dr. Atul name, even at that particular point, was known to all the highways. So that is the essential component which this model, which has been produced by Rockefeller Foundation to provide this resiliency in the health system. I think if you are motivated enough to help the mankind, and if that is the purpose of your life, you can still do wonders, irrespective whether you have enough resources or not. And that should be one factor which you should always keep in mind, that if you want to make your system in which you are working as resilient, then be motivated. Don't be afraid of circumstances. The success will come to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. It was very insightful presentation on the resident health system. In Nepal, the group of doctors, nurses, and the public health, including myself, we are prototyping primary healthcare system model. And at the end, our proposal of prototyping primary healthcare system model is to ensure universal health coverage, and out of which building the resident health system is major component. And at the end of the 3 years, somehow we have been able to establish that primary healthcare. But my question is that how do we make or produce the resilient healthcare providers? Because this is what we are suffering now. Thank you.
As I told you that when we talk of the framework, we do the analysis, there are 5 components. And you cannot make anybody a resilient health provider. He has to make himself. That is why I say that the last point which I stressed upon, that if people are motivated, you must understand why people join medicine. If people join medicine for earning money, this is my personal view, people may differ, right? If you join medicine for earning money, you are in the wrong profession. You can earn a lot more money by joining other professions. Medicine is not to earn money. Medicine. So you have to be motivated enough to heal people. If you are not motivated enough, you may have any number of degree, any number of knowledge. If you are not motivated enough, you will not work for the people. So if you want to make the people resilient, then the self-motivation, that is the kind of motivation which we have. That is the kind of motivation. You see, we are sitting in this beautiful hall. Anybody who is working as a healthcare team in any capacity, the motto of his or her life should be, let's try to make this world a better place for living. I hope I have answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. I think you must have understood why I gave such an interesting introduction about Dr. Rajat Chopra. So I hope you agree that you have heard one of the finest orator. You agree with me? Yes. What's the boliye? Yes. Thank you. So here is Dr. Professor Rajat Chopra. He is giving you a very simple, student-friendly version of health resilience system. He started with how in our country and world over the preventive medicine model is on USSR and medical education is based on British, so both sometimes do not match. He told about the Indian scenario, how when a crisis happens, the person has a range from sub-center to the medical college and the healthcare system, then private practitioners, then alternative systems, then quacks. And all have to be integrated. Then he told about how IDSP, there is a health information system in our country which is being upgraded every day. आप लोग भी उसके part बनने जा रहे हैं when you join government services. Weekly data is generated because without data you cannot proceed anyway. Then he told about, he talked about the latest pandemic of coronavirus, how we need a very strong health information system to combat this pandemic. जब तक हमें पता नहीं चलेगा कितने लोग चाइना से आ रहे हैं, कितने लोग इन्फेक्टेड हैं, कहाँ पर हैं, that information has to be there, which state is involved, all those things. Then he told about the 5 P's, जो उन्होंने 5 पॉइंट बताए. Awareness of the health resilience system, awareness, diversity, self-regulation, integration and adaptability. He has explained beautifully. And one thing he told, very interesting, which you may not have registered, that you people sitting here, you are the biggest fighters, you are also at the biggest risk of any pandemic. आप ही सबसे ज्यादा पेशेंट के साथ इंटरेक्ट करते हैं, yes or no? Doctors come, take rounds and give orders and go. Who takes care of them? You. You are the front line foot soldiers who have to fight the diseases day and night. Agreed? So your health has to be at the top tier. Sir ने एक बात कही है, immunity. When these viruses, in last 10 years, more than 100 new diseases have come up. कभी निपा आता है, कभी सार्स आता है, कभी इबोला आता है, अभी कोरोना वायरस. New disease will keep on emerging, but if you keep your immunity at the top gear, we don't have vaccines for most of these things. We have vaccines hardly for 25 or so diseases. And there are thousands of antigens, these viruses and bacteria. How do you keep yourself healthy? By following a healthy lifestyle. By following a... So he was hinting at that. I'll little bit elaborate on that. For example, आप तो सुभारती में हैं, सुभारती में नेचुरोपैथी योगा कॉलेज भी है कि नहीं है? So, yogic lifestyle is one of the scientifically proven health promotional style. So you who are to face the patients day in and day out, if you practice pranayam daily, if you practice yoga daily, if you do meditation daily, your immunity will be high. This is proven by research. इसमें कोई doubt नहीं, आपकी immunity अच्छी रहेगी. So keep your immunity high by practicing these things. Then keep yourself hydrated. पानी की कमी ना होने दें. Hydrated रहें, physically active रहें, take proper sleep. That again is related to immunity. And another thing is the herbs, जिसको आयुर्वेद ने जो है रसायन कहा है, तुलसी का काढ़ा है, गिलोय है, these have been proved to improve the immunity. I myself take giloy काढ़ा every day, and that keeps me quite fit. I know that, and there is a research in that. So keep taking these things, which are herbs proven to improve immunity. And last but not least, Dr. Chopra said, spiritual health. Spiritual health is one of the biggest things. Keep yourself fearless. Have faith in the divine. Whether you call him God or Allah or Bhagwan, Khuda, doesn't matter. That I am doing my service, God will take care of me. Have a high faith. दलाई लामा से कुछ सोशल मीडिया पे तिब्बत चाइना के लोगों ने पूछा what to do कोरोना वायरस. Dalai Lama has said one mantra, I don't know which is that mantra in Tibetan. ये वाला मंत्र आप बोलिए. Maybe that mantra will give them the confidence that yes, I am not vulnerable, because their city immunity कम हो जाती है. Fear also decreases immunity. So keep your immunity high by practicing these things. Don't fear. You're doing a good job. God will take care of you. So in the end, please give a big standing ovation to Professor Hannes Chopra. Please.
In the masses calling look,
So I will not be focusing on the content itself. Rather, I will focus on the practical aspects as I already mentioned. And before starting the session, I can see some of the PCL, GNL students are also here. So along with the masters and faculty and their students. So to ensure that every one of us are in the same page, I will reflect on some of the basic concepts and terminologies just to ensure that we are on the same page. Divided into the public law and the civil law. Public law usually deals with the stocks related to the constitution, administration and the crime. And the civil law, it comprises of tort law and the contract. Half an hour, for next half an hour, we will deal with different stocks related to the tort law. And most of the times when I talk with the healthcare providers or the professions in the university, they try to define the word negligence and the malpractice in a two different way. And the study done in the Sweden, it shows that out of 630 medications error, the most common was the wrong dose, which was committed by 41%, and the wrong passage, which comprised 3%. And the omission of the job was committed by the 12%. Most common factor for negligence was forgetfulness or lack of attentiveness. And another factor was proper protocol was not followed. Because there is no malpractice, or is it we have not been documented? And the answer is, of course, there is malpractice. There is a huge malpractice. But what only is used is our citizen, our healthcare receiver, they are not most that aware that report to the malpractice. In most of the cases, they are not being able to recognize it's a malpractice because we have the system, the health system is set in such a way that doctors and nurses are they are praised or they are looked as a god. I like to reflect in one of the cases, negligence cases that happened in Nepal only in the last month. There is a very big international hospital. It's a very renowned for its quality care. And there was a case the baby was born in that hospital itself. And the parents were regularly following for his, it's a normal checkup, they were, they went to the hospital when the baby was 2 months, and suddenly the baby was diagnosed hydrosis father, where we can find a case. And when we talk about the cases of fraud, it's very common, especially in the private hospitals, where they make you pay for very unnecessary tests. And in context of Nepal, when we talk about the fraud, the cases of surveillance section is very high in the private hospital. I have mentioned one research very down. Rising surveillance section rates in Nepal, question of the safety and integrity on obstetric emergency practice. What this research has shown is the rate of cesarean section is a bit of time because there was a law, And if there is no law, and so it's very hard to control the diverse people living in the society. So it's very important when we talk about the health system, when we talk about the right to life, and when we deal with the right to life, how do we ensure that quality of care has been provided? It's only the law, and it's
standards of the education which we acquire, or is that on the right path or not? It's not about simply, so there are few words here, and after that we get into the setting expectations and knowing the expectations of the profession. But it's not about simply wearing the uniform and speaking politely with me. The nurse says, nursing is a noble profession and the nurse has to be very soft spoken and very polite. Right? As of today, when I hired, so far I would say in last 5 years, by connecting various campuses and also going ahead, adopting nearly 11 campuses, nursing campuses or nursing institutes. And the most valued soft skills, when we call talking soft skills, what is soft skills? You will certainly get an Oxford Dictionary definition, but for nurses it comes as, one is the first is the confidence in her work. Whether she is able to manage time or not. My patient is in one of the rooms, I first go, they call me, I hear a call bell. I take a call and then when I go, the patient says I'm having fever. I go, come back to the station, go running with the thermometer. Then I remember I should have carried the BP apparatus. I come back and I carry the BP apparatus. But then I remember there should have been a stethoscope as well. This is a very small thing, but the bigger ones will actually you will witness in your ICUs, in your wards, when we handle big dressings, intubations, or patient resuscitation. 4 or 5 years in your career, in life. But going ahead, you will experience that these are the soft skills which make the nurses transform into good managers, transform good managers into good leaders, and transform good leaders into living legends. And believe me, there is a dire need of such leaders and legends in nursing in India today. We can talk about the nurses and the people, those who are no more amongst us. Florence Nightingale is the one. But now we need to focus, is anybody getting ready to become another Florence Nightingale or not? So let that be the focus. Worshipping the past, but certainly we have to focus on the present, not caring about the future, because take care of this today, automatically the future day. Resulting from exposure to a traumatized individual. Compassion fatigue has been described as the convergence of secondary traumatic stress and accumulated burnout, a state of physical and mental exhaustion. My friends, physical and mental exhaustion caused by a depleted ability to cope up in my everyday environment. As in, if we are aware about this, this is something, be it a student or be it a nursing professional, I need to have higher thresholds for it, because it's not only in nursing. This has actually started